I went hunting to the butcher shop and I got myself some really nice pieces of meat, which I'm going to salt and smoke. Pork neck, the back of the neck will pork. These are ribs, but without the bones. So you have nice layers of fat and meat alternating. I also have some back straps, big ones, and also pieces of pork leg, the behind legs. The first thing I'm going to do is make sure I don't have any loose ends. You want to have a solid piece of meat to have more or less the same thickness. See, right here, this is coming loose, so I'm going to cut this out. This was a big animal. This neck, it's really huge. And I'm actually going to cut a few pieces because I feel like eating some fresh pork. This neck also contains some fat in between, so when you smoke it and you have that smoked meat with that smoked pork fat, it's going to be just delicious. The salt, I have here a 25 kilo bag of salt. This doesn't contain any iodine or other additives, it's just plain salt. Now on this part I'm going to add salt, and well, there are some recipes saying how much salt you should add based on how big the piece of meat is. This is the way my parents have done it since ever, and so this is the way I'm doing it. Basically, I'm just adding a lot of salt, making sure that the meat is fully covered on all sides. Normally my parents or my grandparents, they used to make a whole leg, usually the back legs, one of them or both of them. You would leave them with salt, with plenty of salt, for around anywhere between 3 and 6 weeks, depending on how big the leg was, or also how cold it was outside or where you store the meat. Because the colder it is, the less salt, or the meat is gonna take in the salt a lot slower than if it's warmer. There, all the meat is covered in salt, in plenty of salt. I'm using this like a towel or tablecloth to cover it. You don't want to cover it with plastic or stuff that are not breathable. This is going to stay like this for around anywhere between 4 to 6 days, since it's not a huge piece of meat like I told you in the beginning, like a whole pig's leg. You should always check on it. The thing is, the salt is going to extract the water from the meat, so you should check it every day. Maybe turn the meat around, like take the ones from the bottom, put them on the top, add some more salt. Once you see water coming out of the meat, you should drain the water out, add more salt. Make sure the meat is covered in salt all the time on all sides. Now for storage, use a cold place, like a pantry or a basement, but make sure it doesn't freeze. You don't want your meat to be frozen, you just want it in a cold environment. After 4 or 5 days of curing with salt, I'm putting the meat in cold water. Leave them like that for 30 or 40 minutes. This is important because you want the salt to get all the way to the middle, but while that's happening, the edge of the meat is going to be extremely salted. So by leaving them in cold water for 30 or 40 minutes, some of the salt from the outside layer is going to come off. Before smoking the meat, it's very important that you dry it. Now the next step is really not necessary. You can just take the meat straight to the smokehouse and start smoking it. But I like to add a mix of spices on the meat before I smoke it. This is just water with garlic and some spices. I left two of them without the spices, just so we can see the difference in color and taste. To smoke it, I use hot coals from my stove, and I'm trying to use only hardwood. Spruce or pine are not okay for smoking meat because they have a lot of resin in them, and you don't want that stuff on your food. I'm using now cherry, which is a hardwood, and gives a nice flavor to any meat you're smoking. So I'm placing the smaller pieces on straight on the hot coals, and right on top I'm using a bigger piece. Actually, if it's not completely dry, it's even better. The big heavy piece is gonna burn a lot slower and it's gonna produce a lot more smoke. You can also control the smoke. If you see the fire is burning too hot, too strong, which you don't really want to, you can throw in some sawdust or even some snow on top of the wood just to make it burn a bit slower. You don't want a lot of heat, you want smoke. The smokehouse actually has an outside stove, which I'm usually using it when I'm doing sausages. But for making ham, I do want to have a bit of temperature, so that's why I'm making the fire inside. Now this is gonna go for an hour or two. After that, I'm gonna come here and add some more firewood. I'm thinking I'm gonna add once or twice today. Then we'll let the meat to breathe for a little while until tomorrow or until next day. And then I'm gonna repeat the process. It's been 7 weeks since I smoked the meat and let it cure. So now it should be done, I guess. Hopefully it's not too dry. It looks almost perfect. You can see on the edges where it's thinner, it's a lot drier. Not a bad thing. So I think it's time for them to be taken out, because they're only gonna get drier if I keep them in here. It does seem to be softer inside, so I don't think it's gonna be extra dry, just slightly above what I would like it to be. I'm going to cut it in half, and the reason for that is I want to see exactly what's happening in the middle, but also because I don't have a proper storage room with the right temperature and the right humidity. I'm going to bag them and keep them in the freezer. Yeah, inside it's nice and soft. It's just a very thin layer that's almost like a crust. And I would really like to see the salt, if I done it right. It's perfect. You can feel the salt, but not too much. Let's try a different one. This is the ribs. I'm gonna do the same. Perfect. The back strap. Looks pretty good. It's a bit harder than the other ones, but still really nice. I do want to see the pieces that I didn't use any spices on. You can see the color, it's different. Yeah, looks okay. Tastes nice, but I think I do prefer the one with spices. Still have a lot more to process. The container is not empty, it's half full. But yeah, everything looks great.